next witness, who's our star witness, perhaps has the last still photo ever taken of Nipsey Hussle, and that's the girl who drove with Eric Holder up to the Marathon parking lot, and her name is Brianita Nicholson. And she was on the stand for all of the afternoon, and they didn't even finish with her today.
Wow. Now, this is a witness that's gotten a lot of flack on the internet that's been viewed as being part of his killing. Or
they met in January. In fact, they met on February 25th, 2019. So they only knew each other for just over a month. So this is a very short relationship.
Yeah.
They did have an intimate relationship, but the intimacy only happened one time in that entire month. She's from she lives in Long Beach. She's originally from LA, but she moved out of state when she was a kid and then moved back to LA. So some people were saying that she's actually from the South, but originally she was actually born in LA. And they started hanging out. Her and Eric Holder started hanging out right after that Lyft. She's a Lyft driver at the time. And after she picked them up and dropped them off in Long Beach, they just started hanging out pretty much like almost every day, at least 3, 4, 5 times a week.
So is it safe to say there was already a sexual relationship or no?
Yeah, but they only had sex one time.
Oh, okay. So
when asked about how serious the relationship was, she just called him a friend. She's like, he was a homeboy, a friend, but we did have sex one time. So I think she had a liking for Eric, because whenever Eric called, whenever he reached out to her during this 1 month, she was there for him. He was like, hey, let's go get something to eat. Sure, let's go. And let's go get dinner. Sure, let's go. And what's interesting, she paid for every single date they went on. Red Lobster, she paid. There was another restaurant they went to, she paid. And even at the Master Burger, on the day Nipsey gets killed, he had to go back to the car and borrow a few dollars to cover the cost of what he was ordering in the Master Burger. So at some point, I think Eric Holder was just, she was there for convenience, at least.
Right. Damn, I never had a girl pay for my food ever in life.
I think it's pretty bold that you meet a girl and you barely know her for a month and you got her paying for everything.
That's heavy pimping right there,
No doubt about it.
You got paying everything.
Your words, not mine.
Yeah.
But let's see. So she got to meet his family, which was an uncle. She hung out with him at a couple recording sessions at a makeshift music studio in the apartment. So over this month period, she just got to know him, was hanging out, going places. And she did testify that she saw him with a gun on previous occasions. So there was some testimony that she knew he had a gun and she had seen him with a gun on multiple occasions, more than once.
What did she say about that day, that moment where it all went down of Eric?
Okay. So on the day it went down, which would have been March 31st, she testified that Eric Holder called her up. In fact, she said that he had been calling her up multiple times, but she didn't answer his phone call. I think she was working or she was doing Lyft. And eventually she decided to answer his call. And he was like, hey, I wanna hang out. Let's go get something to eat. And she agrees, and she ends her Lyft job earlier than she planned on doing it. And she goes, picks him up. And then also every time they go on a date and they hang out, it's her driving, picking him up every single time.
Heavy pimp.
There you go. And on that day, they were supposed to go get some food at he wanted In-N-Out. So she went to go pick him up so they can get In-N-Out, and they decided let's go to LA because he was living in Long Beach at the time. And then they drove to LA. She wanted to go to the Slauson Swap meet, which is right there on Slauson, literally right down the street from Crenshaw and Slauson. But I don't think they ever made it to the swap meet. And then she ends up saying, "Hey, what do you want to eat?" And he says, "You know what? Let's just go get a Master Burger." So
she said,
drives. No, he says, "Let's just get Master Burger."
Oh God.
Yeah, because initially the plan was to go get In-N-Out. So they goes from going to get In-N-Out to Master Burger. Actually, and before they pulled up at the Marathon parking lot, she testified that a couple blocks away from the Marathon store, Eric Holder had her drive to like a spot where some of the homies from 60s was hanging out at. And he was there for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then that's when they had the conversation, "What do you want to eat?" And then he just says, "You know what, since we're over here in the area, let's just go to Master Burger." So they were already in the area visiting some other unidentified people from the hood. And then they end up going to Master Burger right after that.
So tell us, how did she notice Nip? Were they in the car already? Did she get out?
They noticed Nip she notices Nip while they're in the car. So they pull into the Marathon parking lot from the Slauson entrance that's west. There's 2 entrances on Slauson to the parking lot. So they entered from the west side, the west entrance. So when you enter that entrance, immediately you see Nip and the guy standing there by the 2 white cars. So as soon as she pulls in, she's like, "Oh shoot, Nipsey Hussle's here." So she pulls in, makes a left, and tries to find parking, but doesn't. And if you look at some of the video footage from the Shell gas station, you see her white car just parked in the middle of the parking lot. And then you see Eric Holder exit the car. But when he exits, he goes to Master Burger first.
What did she say happened after that?
So while he's in Master Burger, when he comes out of Master Burger, he goes over to Nip, Cowboy, and Rimpaw, and she notices that. And she's thinking to herself, because she made a comment in the car like, "Oh, wow, there goes Nipsey. He's fine." She actually said this on the stand that she acknowledged that, he's so fine. And
I'm sorry to cut you, but what's Eric's expression on it? Did he have any expression on his face while she's there giving her testimony?
No, he's very quiet. There's he's not too expressive when it comes to the facial expressions. He's just a quiet defendant sitting right next to his attorney.
Okay. And continue. Yeah. I'm sorry for stopping. Go ahead.
So she makes a comment about Nipsey being fine, and there's no response from Eric. He, once they pull into the parking lot, he goes to Master Burger. But she notices after he leaves the Master Burger, he walks over to Nip, and she's saying, "Oh man, he's going over to get a photograph with Nipsey Hussle. Let me get a photograph too." Because Eric has not even acknowledged that, "Oh yeah, I know him," this entire time. So she's just thinking he's walking over there as a fan. So when she gets over there, she hears that they have a conversation, and that she hears the snitch conversation, and she actually uses the word snitch.
Wow.
So that's a little different from the way Cowboy told the conversation.
Right. Wow. That's some shit, bro. That is some shit. What does that tell? What does this mean? What does that tell you, man? Cowboy, I don't think he has a very good memory,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you that much. I don't know if he's a snitch or not, but he definitely could be forgetting some things,
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic, kind of. It all goes to credibility. Who do you believe? Who do you think is telling the most accurate story? Who has to gain something from telling a story a certain kind of way? But she clearly says that she heard a conversation about snitching, and after she took her selfie with Nip, she walked back to the car, and Eric stood behind. So she only caught a quick glimpse, well, not a glimpse, but she caught a quick listening of that conversation, and she clearly heard the word snitching.
Okay. Go to the next.
Okay, so then at some point the conversation ends between Eric and Nip, and he goes back to the Master Burger. He gets his fries. He jumps in the car, and they drive out of the park. They go through that alley, which is east of the building where the Master Burger, the tax place. They go through that alley to 58th. Then she makes a right turn, and all these turns that she's doing is at his direction. So he's saying, hey, go through this alley. Go make this turn here. So she makes a right on 58th, which is the street right behind the whole strip mall. And then they make another right to come back to Slauson. And then once they make another right on Slauson and come back in front of the store, she testified that she looked at Eric Holder, and he's loading up a magazine to his semi-automatic weapon. He's actually putting bullets in the magazine as they're as they're coming down Slauson. And she says something about, hey, what are you doing? You're not going to shoot no gun out of my car. And he complies to her request. And he says, okay. And then he tells her to make another right turn on Crenshaw, and then make another right turn into the parking lot where the Fat Burger's at. And they park the car in the alley right there by the Fat Burger. And guess what they do at this time? He starts to eat his meal. Remember, he just ordered some chili cheese fries from Master Burger. So he tells the girl, Miss Nicholson, we'll just park right here in the alley and let me just eat my food. And she's like, okay, no problem. So they're parked in the alley over by the Fat Burger where the car is pointing towards 58th Street. And he begins to eat his chili cheese fries. And she says after about 2 or 3, I guess, servings of eating the chili cheese fries, he tells her, wait here, I'll be right back. And that's when he leaves. And that's when everything happens. Right after he leaves, we all know he goes to the front and opens fire on Nipsey Hussle.
Okay, for the people that don't know, how far is that Fat Burger from the where Nip is at?
Okay, so the Shell gas station is adjacent to the strip mall where the Marathon store is at. So there's an alley that separates the strip mall and the gas station, and the Fat Burger is on the south side of the gas station. So it's that close. He walks past the Master Burger and shoots Nipsey between the 2 white cars that are there. And everyone's seen the footage of that. And then he runs. What's interesting, he kind of runs into the parking lot when he leaves after the shooting. After he kicks Nipsey in the head, he runs into the parking lot a little bit, and then he runs between 2 cars, and then back past the Master Burger, and then goes into the alley. And when he ran between the 2 cars, remember the girl that was sitting in the car, Ingrid, he runs right by her while she's sitting in the car. And then he makes a right at the alley, and then he jumps in the car and tells her, let's go, let's go. And then that's when she immediately says, what happened? I heard gunshots. What's going on? And that's when he says, just go or I'm going to slap you. And then she drives off.
All right. Let me ask you this before you continue. Might as well ask you now. So he had said when they left the Master Burger, he was already in the car and loading his gun, right? So at that point, he already had decided that he was going to kill him. He was going to shoot him, right?
You could opine that when he told her to drive all the way around again, he may have made that decision, but he didn't shoot. He just started loading his magazine. But she did testify that he had picked up the gun and was holding it like out the window, like he was getting ready to shoot. So yeah, you could argue at that moment he had made a decision to shoot, but then he tells her to pull up by the Fat Burger and park in the alley there so I could eat my fries. So maybe at that point he changed his mind. I don't know. But then we know after he took about 2 or 3 servings of chili cheese fries, he told her, "Wait here, I'll be right back." So maybe, you could argue that could be a premeditated plan.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What else did she say after that?
She said that she didn't see him leave with the gun when they were sitting in the car eating. Well, when he was eating the chili cheese fries, she said he just got out the car and said, "I'll be right back. Don't leave." So she didn't see any gun in his hand or anything of the sort. So the only time she saw the gun is when he was loading it when they were driving around, but then he put it away when he was eating.
Right. Okay. And what did they do? They just drive off, go home like nothing ever happened?
They drove off and they went to her mother's house. And she dropped him off at his relative's house, a guy named Harold. We don't have his last name. Some guy named Harold that's related to Eric Holder. And then she goes to her mom's house. But then she testified that a little bit later, Eric had called her and said, "Hey, can I come over?" And she said, "No, because I'm not at my apartment. I'm at my mom's house." And then he said, "Well, can I come over to your mom's house?" And she said, "Sure." And this is all after everything has happened. So he goes over to mom's house. Mom is at work, and he ends up spending the night at Miss Nicholson's mom's place on March 31st.
Wow. Are you okay when you listen to this? Are you just glued to what she's telling you? What she's saying?
Yeah, I'm trying to listen to everything she's saying. Trying to see if there's any inconsistencies in her story. Trying to see if she's credible. Trying to see what level of sincerity she gives off, and everything seems pretty normal. I remember the prosecutor had asked her, "Why did you pay for all the dates?" She's like,
"Heavy pimping."
She said, "I don't know. Sometimes she just didn't have an answer."
Right.
But then after he spent the night at Miss Nicholson's mom's place, she has to go to work the next day. She also has another job outside of Lyft. She does home care and just caring for I guess elderly people. She didn't really go into details, but she had to go to that job in the morning. That would have been Monday morning, and Eric can't stay there because that's mom's place. So then he asked her, "Can you get me a motel? Can you get me a room?" And she helps him get a room.
What the fuck?
She does.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's pretty much it. She helps him get a room.